Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way. And that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I don't think Marilyn and I have we don't have much of a choice except to speak from our hearts at this point.
Yes.
It just seems like everything else is kind of futile. So, wow. Okay, so Marilyn, I'm going to read this great write-up you wrote for us for this topic today. The importance of choosing to be proactive versus reactive. Today, we are going to discuss the power in recognizing when to speak up, stand up, march, sit down, or simply just be. There are many forces that would like to keep us distracted by confusion, distortion, division, and fragmenting. And now more than ever is a time for us to be daring enough to stand up for what matters most, to call out the wrongs without turning a blind eye. There's a great love in this world we know is true, but there is evil in the world, and we must be proactive rather than reactive. The change we wish to see in the world begins with each and every one of us. It lives in all of us. The removal of the rose-colored glasses is required at this time. What is important for you in this lifetime? What are you willing to stand up for? What are you living or just existing with? May we trust our process in the unraveling. May we honor each step that got us this far. There you go. But I do have to say, I have one caveat, and yes, I am being funny. I have rose-colored glasses, and they are going with me on the plane to England. I said, I saw rose-colored glasses, and I was like, those are mine. So at least I can say I wear them. Even if I don't get to wear them, I get to really wear them on my eyelids. So, yeah, I do want to add to everyone out there listening to us that this is a very intense time. We had the new moon, and we had the partial eclipse, and we have another eclipse coming full circle on the 16th. So eclipses come and they shake things up. And while we're in between the two, we are kind of evaluating all the stuff that came up with the new moon and then bringing it full circle on the 16th. So you should expect to be triggered. You should expect to be challenged. You should expect things to come up that you maybe thought you dealt with or that need to be addressed. So if you are feeling like you're in a little bit of a whirlpool of wacka woo woo, well, welcome to the club, because Marilyn and I are both feeling it too.
Yeah, for sure, right? For sure.
Yes. I would like to say also, in my sarcastic tone, I have no idea what to talk about today because I am not a reactive person. Ha, 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 ha. I am one of the most reactive people you will ever meet. I'm so passionate, and I fly by the seat of my pants. And sometimes that can be a really wonderful thing to have as a trait in your character. And sometimes you can bite your nose off to spite your face. And I have learned the hard way in many layers, and I still am, when I get triggered and I'm reactive, because I am in that passion mode. I'm a fire sign. You know, Marilyn, you're a Taurus, so you're a little more grounded as well. Oh,
Yeah,
you're not a
Libra.
Taurus, you're a Libra. You're balanced. I'm sorry. I always think you was Taurus because you always ground me so much. But I've got that Gemini rising and that air Aquarius moon. So I am very, not grounded. And so it's easy for people with a lot of air to be reactive because it's a quicker reaction, right? So, I
Right.
mean, we all have our triggers. It doesn't matter what your signs are, but it just made me think that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like some people believe that being reactive is a no-no, right? I believe that it is in our reactive moments that we are given a glimpse, a moment where we are given the opportunity to connect with the wounded self and begin the work, right? To begin the work. So our triggers hold our wounds, and it is where the pain and beliefs reside within us.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
truly a way to walk in the world,
Well, let me
to
say
be
something,
present.
Marilyn. Last week we were talking about holding space for other people, and you and I had a misunderstanding this week. It was just we both had a lot on our plates and we had some stuff come up. And you know what? I felt safe enough to be able to reach out and tell you, I don't know if this is rational. It doesn't matter because this is how I feel. So I know I got triggered. But you held the space for me instead of just getting defensive or whatever, being reactive. You processed what I said and you came from a place of why is this happening? And so again, remember when we talked about how it's really important that you choose the right people that are going to support you. And there's no mistakes in my life that you showed up in my life when you did. And just by how we got through that, which was literally 4 hours ago. I get up on Europe time now, people. So, but we really processed that really well. And I felt like so good by the time we had talked because I felt I had been heard. I felt I had been supported, and I felt like it didn't matter how crazy what I was feeling was. You didn't make me feel crazy, because
And isn't that
was the
powerful?
truth. Yes.
And it's powerful
Very.
to recognize that, because when we're thinking that we're not processing information correctly or accurately, and then we tell somebody, this is how I feel, and then somebody negates that, then you feel like, well, it's crazy that I had that feeling and that thought process. And what that does is the reason why the things come up is because we are working on the deeper work.
Yeah.
So you're being proactive, and that's what you did. You were being proactive. You said, this is how I feel. I may be irrational or not, but it's how I feel, and it's real to me. And
That's
I
right.
acknowledge that it was real to you. And that so that's important, because when you have somebody on the other side, which most of the time is what happens, right? The majority of the times when you're talking to somebody in that form, what happens is that the person reacts and gets
They're
triggered
being
by their own
reactive.
stuff, right? Because
Exactly.
they get triggered by their own stuff, and then they are attacking or, trying to be
Defensive.
right, or trying to be right no matter
Yes.
what. And it's
Yeah.
not about being right. It's not
And
about being
making
right. It's
someone
about,
wrong either.
yeah, it really has so much to do with listening, making a space for each other so that a real, true communication can happen. Because if we're going to be, let's say, friends, or we're going to hold people in certain, places in our lives, but we are very surfacey with each other, then really, what is that? If I can't speak my truth, then are you really my friend? Because that would mean that yes, you would be my friend, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't be trusting.
It's conditional. It's like
And
you're my friend as
unconditional.
long as you
Yes.
don't ruffle this or cross
Right.
this, or and that is, as you're saying, it's we all have different relationships in our life. We have different
Yeah.
levels of friendship, but a
Right.
true friend, You should be able to be heard.
Yes.
And you know, it takes a lot to come from a place of love with an open heart instead of what did I do or what do I need to protect or be, like you said, needing to be right. And, for me, it's never about needing to be right. Like, I don't come from that place anymore. I did for a long time, but being right, it's like what somebody says, that saying, if you think you're wrong or you think you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wherever your stance is coming from, and that's what you've decided, that's where it's going to be. And it's hard to have an open heart, especially if we feel raw or, for me, I got triggered by something that's very, very old and ancient. And I've done a lot of work on it, but I've done a lot of work to the point that I'm at because it wasn't a destination, boom, dissolved, magically disappeared. That is not, and that's so important because I think I've said this so many times, being a native New Yorker, you have a certain defense. I was a kid. I was a latchkey kid. I grew up in New York. People, would start talking. Hey, sweetheart, what are you doing? Walking across, people would just talk to you across the street. People are very warm and gregarious in New York, but they're also very honest. And if you piss them off, they will let you know, right? So I grew up in that mentality of, fight, you stand up, and that served me very well for
you defend
many,
yourself,
yes,
or others,
but it
and
also
others.
armored me very well, right? So you take the things you want to keep, and you slowly dissolve and resolve the things you don't,
right?
And
thinking about the times that we're living today, right? The things that you're experiencing and I'm experiencing and the collective is experiencing is the trauma that is surfacing because we were exposed, right? We were exposed to a lot of trauma. And then we got bombarded with more years of trauma, with the with the political system, with just the way things are running, and then we start to collect a lot of that energy. And what happens is that it starts getting mixed up with our own trauma. And before you know it, we are having to work through the trauma that is being reactivated in us. But this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing. But we also need to have someone to be able to work it through with. I don't think that this is something to work through on your own. I think that when this stuff hits, there's a lot going on now. And it's so interesting that politically there's a lot of things going on. And when we wrote this, we had no idea. We had no idea that what was going to be happening the day before.
Today,
right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Would be something that is gonna just create even more of the rising up of the trauma that has been living in people for so many years, and so it has been reactivated.
Lifetimes.
And then and so now the question is, what are we gonna do with that? What are we gonna do with that trauma? And are we gonna be reactive? And how reactive are we gonna be? Are we gonna come from a place of I'm going to be reactive, but I'm also going to be reactive in a healthy way? Because there is such a difference. There is a difference between being reactive and being reactive in a healthy way. Because when we're reactive and we are just how would I say, just self-destructive sometimes. It can be very self-destructive. And this is not the energy that we want. The energy that we want to feed is the energy of, I am prepared. I have all the information that I need, and I'm moving forward with it. Because now I know that in my reactive state, I'm going to be able to be proactive in the ways that I need to get the outcome that I am wanting. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And, this is why I always say, and we talked about this a little bit before we went on air, but, a crime of passion, I totally understand. something premeditated out of greed or something calculated. I don't understand that. I can try and understand that criminal mind. But, somebody being reactive and a gun going off or something like that happening because it's out of emotion, that to me is the extreme of reactive. When you are in the lower vibration of it's just pure emotion and you are bam, in that moment lost. That would be my lowest on the rung of reactionary, because there's all different levels on the chain there going up on a ladder of reaction, right?
Well, think
Being
about where that's
proactive.
feeding, but think about where it's sourcing from, right? It's sourcing from all the false truths that you hold, as well as the greatest
Yes.
fears. Your greatest fears are they are now full front and center, and you don't really know what to do. So you're not even conscious and aware of what to do. It's more protect, react, and then that's it. And so that's that energy, right? You're
It's like
surging
the fight
from
or flight.
yeah, you're surging from such great fear that lives inside. That's the source that you're sourcing from, the deep fear that probably you aren't
I
even
guess we
aware
need
of.
to explore that. Like how that's what we need to explore when we get back from our first break is how do you transform that? How does that work? Because I'm sure there's more than one right way. But, for me, I only know my own process, and I'm sure your process is very different than my process, you know? But I know for my life, and I'm a Saggy, we stick our foot in our mouth often. It's a trait we're known for, uninsert foot. I didn't mean it to sound like that. Yeah,
I
but
must have a little saggy in me too. Then,
well, we all have a little bit of Saggy in us, right? Giddy
yeah.
up. Um, all right, so you guys come back and we're going to explore reactive, proactive on shooting the shift.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Hello.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift.
Hello.
We
Oh,
are
Elizabeth.
discussing being proactive versus
Um,
reactive. And sorry, things are a little wonky today.
Can you hear
I'm
us now?
talking.
Okay.
Yes, so we're talking here on Shooting the Shift about being proactive versus reactive today. And we're just having a little reactive moment with our technical computer stuff. So we're back. So guys, we left on that break talking about what are the things that we can do to realize when we're being reactive? And maybe I think the word I want to add in here, Marilyn, is rational versus irrational. Because for me, I know when I'm being reactive in a defensive mode or in that more of the emotion, it's like I am not doing myself a favor, because I need to get more centered and I need to kind of call myself home and go, okay, why am I feeling so what I'm feeling, right? That's the first thing I need to do. And that's something that's like a muscle for me that I've built over time, where I've learned. And I think for me personally, I've learned because literally, like I said, when we went off to break, Saggies are known for putting their foot in their mouth. And I was the type of person, especially in my younger years, where I would just spew what I felt without a filter. And then, of course, that would get me in mega, mega, mega trouble with myself and the person, So what about you, Marilyn?
Yeah, I think about this and I go, well, I think the majority of people have all had those experiences, right? And continue to sometimes have those experiences, no matter how much work, is done. Because there's always that wounded part that surfaces, or that somebody kind of triggers with an unexpected statement. And if you don't catch yourself, then you're going to be very reactive to the statement that is made, especially if it wakes up a wounded place in you. So I think that, when we're balancing being proactive and reactive, then we also have to wrestle with the understanding that the practice of doing that is important, but diving in when we get triggered is the key to less reactive, explosive interactions with others. Mm-hmm. Because we can have a reactive experience that is proactive because we've done the work behind it. But if we haven't done the work on that issue, right, that's turning, then it's going to be explosive no matter how hard we try, because the wound is open now, and now we're exposed.
Yeah, and I think that whole thing with being proactive, being reactive, is our reaction is really from the past. Our reaction is from something that we either traumatized us. I mean, let's face it, we're all comfy and floating around in a nice little cocoon, which is our mother's womb. And we are getting everything we need, where the body temperature's right, everything's good. And then, bam, something happens and we get pushed out, our head gets squished, our umbilical cord and thread to our mother gets cut off, and we breathe air for the first time because we've been breathing liquid for the whole time we've been in there. That's pretty freaking traumatic, even if you don't have trauma, okay? Just say it. Like, you were in this nice, cushy cocoon, and now you're like cold and blind, and people are smacking you and sticking things down your throat, and whoa. So, just that alone is a little tiny, you don't have any choice. You're just this little wrinkled, wet thing that someone take mercy on you, or you're just not going to make it, right? So I can't think of anything more traumatic than that. So, like anybody who's out there going, well, I don't have any trauma. Well, you do have trauma, because everybody in the world has trauma.
Unless you're living in a bubble. Right?
Yeah, unless you're living still in utero.
Because we all have been exposed to trauma one way or another, directly or indirectly.
That was my point.
We have all been exposed to trauma. So to say that you're not, that you haven't undergone any trauma is really in denial. And now that's a bigger problem, right? Because when we're in
that is a
denial,
bigger
now we got a whole other show, right?
But that's
a whole
not
other
our show. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm
So-
like, that ain't
so
our show.
We're not going to
But
go
what are
there.
you
But
reacting to? Why are you having the reaction you're having?
and that's the work. And that's the work. That's the work that needs to be uncovered. That's the work that once you discover that, you can heal that, then you have deactivated that. And you're getting closer and closer to your authentic being.
Listen, I mean, I think everybody out there has heard about Mike Tyson and the airplane, right? Somebody provoked him, okay? Somebody provoked him from behind him. I don't know what happened. I don't know either of them. I'm not here to bash either one of them. But, you know, you poke the bear and then, I don't know. I would just say that if I was on a plane and Mike Tyson was in front of me and he was a professional boxer, I probably wouldn't poke that bear. That's my point. Like, you know, he's responsible for his reaction, just like Will Smith. Everybody's responsible for how they react. But everybody has a trigger. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how nice your mother was. It doesn't matter. You know, that is the one thing I really wanted to get the bolts and tacks there. Like, nobody out there doesn't have a trigger.
Right. The triggers are real. Even if you negate them, even if you deny them, they're still there.
Still there.
And they will surface. They will surface with or without your acceptance. They will, because they are reactive in the energy of the wound itself. And that's mostly where that it comes from. You know, this morning I was writing and I was like, oh, Lord. And so I'm going to read a little bit because I haven't really read it, but it was something that came in and I was like, okay, so let's do this. So we, the people, are still surfacing from the traumas we were all exposed to. Yet some of us are feeling the energy, but pushing past it to negate the emotional supercharges. This pattern will not serve the highest good. It won't work this time. This time we are being called out to be in our truth and to rediscover our sight, to activate all our senses around the issues and the forces that are feeling threatened and are willing to do anything and everything to maintain the power. And then I also wrote, I am aware that this sounds like conspiracy talking. And I'm aware that people don't really associate conspiracy for the most part as real information. Most people laugh or deflect from statements because it connects with the internal fears. So they do that, right? They will listen to those who will speak the words they want to hear. It's part of the program of deception. If I say it enough times, you will come to believe me. That is why we need to be mindful in our thoughts and deeds. We need to be willing to see things from a different perspective and then decide. If we are not willing to explore other narratives, we will be unable to see that which is before us. And I'm going to stop there because I think that what this information is about, what it regards is we have traumas. They're being reactivated by the things that are happening outside the world, in the world, around us, and in and around our lives. And whether we recognize it or not, the collective energy is, we are feeling it. I know that yesterday I was fully in the collective energy and I didn't realize it. And it was all jumbled up with my energy and my stuff. And so everything was intertwined and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Right? And until you sent me the, that text was when I was able to say, oh, wow. Okay, so this is what's happening. I mean, I did turn the television on. I did see something that upset me. And then I was like, oh, Lord, here we are. It's this energy that's just trying to get my attention. And so when we start to think about these things, I am trying to be conscious and aware all the time. And yet And yet, because I am a human having a human experience, right? Even though they say it the other way around.
Yeah.
But I am having a human experience, and I have to trust that I am going to slip up, that I am going to, make those missteps, and that I am going to be able to recollect myself and recognize.
And that you are evolving.
Yes, and that some of the time this energy doesn't belong to me. And sometimes it's okay for me to identify it and to say, "Hold on. You don't live here."
Yes.
You don't live here.
That's right.
Right? Because we
That's
can't
right.
take on everything that's happening in the world. I mean, we can do our
But
part.
we also can't have a blind eye to it either. And it's a
Exactly.
fine line. It's a very fine
Yes.
line. What's
Right.
going on with women's bodies and women's rights of it, the right to choose your own body,
Yes.
that's
And that's more
important.
control. That's
It
more
is more
control than anything
control.
else. It's like
Yes,
if I
it
can
is.
control you, then I can
Yes.
then I can
Have the
tame you.
power
And if I
over
can
you.
tame you,
That's right.
I have power
I can
over
have
you.
more power, and I can have more
Yeah.
money, and I can be more
Yeah.
destructive. And it's playing out in so many different ways. And another thing that I didn't tap into is really this Scorpio stuff's coming up and the Taurus eclipses. They're all about the worth and value of ourselves, and not only that, it's got very long stretching tentacles into what is of worth and value for me 10 years from now. What do I want
Yes.
in my life in the long haul for the richness of my life, not the minutia and the other stuff.
Right.
And what's playing out politically in many different ways is reflecting that,
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
all connected on one planet. We all breathe the same air. I mean,
Yeah, and Angela Davis said, if they come for me in the morning, come for me in the morning, they will come for you in the night.
yeah.
And this is something that is really, really, we must think about this, right? When people are trying to gain control in such a way where they're taking away your autonomy, your right to make your own decisions, then what next? And when we step back or we step aside and we say, well, that has nothing to do with me. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Then when we do
Yeah.
that, we are taking the stance that, okay, so, all right, that has nothing to do with me, but it's happening to you, but, all right, yeah, it's not me. No, we always have to say, it
Complacency
can happen.
is-
Yeah, yeah.
I think complacency is killing America to a degree. It really is, because there's two sides here. Like, if you look at what this country came from, being invaded and wiping out practically the entire native people so that we could have the land. I mean, that is our history. That is why it's playing out with Pluto and the return of the American Revolution in the skies, because we have a chance here as a karmic humanity to decide we're going to choose humanity or we're going to choose greed and power. That's basically what it's about. And because, and there's probably a lot of people are going to really be annoyed with this, but too bad, because it's the truth as I feel it. The Constitution was based on some of those people owning other people. The Constitution was based on some disingenuous things, regardless of the words. So we are reevaluating our time in humanity, and complacency will not work anymore. All you have to do is look out your window. I mean, here in Colorado, we have forest fires in April. We never have them in April. This is what's happening to our planet. And it's not just environmental. It is the whole shebang, right? So yeah, complacency is a big thing. And also, like you said, what fights do you choose to fight for? That is about your worth and value. Do you value your forest? Do you value your clear water? We can just do environment only. But
yeah,
it's
but
about the worth and value of what we
Yes.
have been given.
What do
and
you
what
stand
we're doing
for?
with it. That's right.
Exactly. What will you stand for? And what will you not allow, right, to happen before you, right? Like, the other thing that I think about is
that's why proactive is so important too. Yeah.
That what?
Proactive is so important too, because we need proactive people that are in their power, that are not wounded while they're being proactive. Yes. Go ahead.
And usually what happens is people aren't as proactive as they want to be, but it's because of the fear that they may have. The fear of losing, the things that they've worked so hard. We also are in a system. This is the world that we live in, and whether we want to take the blinders off or we don't, it's okay. I go like this and I say it's okay. You can see it when you're ready to see it. But when you have lived in a world where that fear is the driving force, right? Where fear holds you, it's like the huge stop sign. Okay, you can speak on this. But if you cross that little line there and you go over and you say that, okay, we're going to take you out in one form or another. Maybe we will, speak very badly of you. Maybe we will, say things that aren't true and put it out there. And so what? It's going to damage you. It's going to destroy you. Even if it wasn't true, by the time you fix it, it's done. You're done. So we have to think about these things. It's the fear that stops people a lot of times from standing up. Like we see it all the time. We see it happening.
But it's also like inch by inch, it's like, we're kind of going into another topic that we have for this month now, because I know we are, because I'm looking at, the blurred lines and like all the distractions. So many distractions are put upon us to distract us so that we won't focus on what really matters while they incrementally take more and more rights away. The whole thing with what's his name, Musk, and Twitter, and freedom of speech and all of that. You have to be really careful. That is such a fine line, because when you start not letting the hate speakers talk, then you are not allowing the other people to talk, because it doesn't work that way. They really did set that up pretty good, I got to say. So you guys, we got to go to one more break. But we're going to come back and we're going to ponder some more, me and Miss Marilyn. So stay tuned.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Funny.
Turn your Zoom off. Welcome back to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Miss Elizabeth. Marilyn, I really do know how to segment into that, because, what I think about in the book, what I was thinking about when we went off to break is my life. What do I want my life to mean? because I'm going to kick the bucket just like everybody else around here. The one thing we're guaranteed is we're not going to be here forever.
Right.
Not our soul, our human little cute little flesh suit, okay? We're all weirdos in flesh suits, right? So what do I want? My life. You know, what is my footprint? What I want to leave as little damage as I can. And I'm not talking about Pepsi cans in a landfill. I'm talking about, you know, all of that too, of course. That more and more that matters to me, the amount of waste that I have. And I say, look at all this waste. It wasn't as present to me as 30 years ago. You know, my eyes are open. But what is the footprint I want to make? What is it that I want to leave behind? What is it that I want to open people up to think about? Not to be a teacher or to be right, but to evolve the knowledge that I've gained through some very difficult times sometimes, you know. And so you did have a way shower at a very young age that you remember. I wish I could remember my teachers as clearly as you do. I don't have that kind of memory, but I think that's important for you to share. So I think you should share that, because that was somebody that showed you how being proactive made a difference. So please do share that.
Yeah, because we were talking about my experience with a teacher in the third grade when his name was Mr. Gaston, and I really believe that he was an earthly guide of mine, because it was so early in my life. And, you know, I would ask questions in class and he would never dismiss my questions. Well, I was the third grade, so I think it was like 9 maybe.
Okay.
Or 8 or 9, something like that. So I would ask questions in class and he would never dismiss my questions. And it didn't matter what type of questions I would ask, he would always, you know, answer them. And so I wanted to know, right? There was one question that really stood out for me. And I wanted to know why people were so angry around the issues of welfare recipients and low-income families, and, you know, what was happening there? Because I couldn't understand. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then he talked about the breakdown of the governmental expenditures, like the pie, you know, the chart where they divide everything up and then they show you where how much money and how much percentage it is of the pie that is spent. And then he showed us the percentage of what was spent on welfare versus all the other expenditures. And it truly wasn't, it was like nothing, right? But what happened was that they were the working class, right? The people that were working, like my father was a working class person. I never really saw him think this way, but I saw other people doing that felt that the opportunities for the working class were being diminished simply because the welfare recipients were receiving all this money, right? And then he spoke about how the information that was being disseminated at the time was geared to distract people from the real issues, which to me was like, oh my goodness, what? So the narrative that had been shared over and over and over again created a group to place the blame upon, as if they were the cause for the lack of opportunities. So for the things that they were suffering, they had to blame somebody. So they used that group of people to, you know, and if we think about it, that
was
today.
Was that a piece of pie? Did he show you?
He showed us, yeah. He showed us, like, he drew it on the board, you know, and he just did, you know, he did all the little pieces, the slivers of how much the percentages were and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just so, for me, that was something that I held on to, is that image that I could still see today if I close my eyes. Because I look at it and I say, just think about it. If the narrative is set in such a way where you are entrained to believe that because of these people, you don't have something because of them, then now you pit one against the other, and then you create a division. So while this is going on, while I'm focusing on you, because I believe you're the person, they're robbing you from back there. They're robbing everything.
Right.
Not those people that you're focused on, not those people that you're focused on, but the people who created the narratives are the ones that are taking and taking and taking. But you're so busy eating up this, narrative and believing it that you can't see what is happening.
That's right.
And so you are just believing what you've been told. So that's something that has always been like a part of always remembering that, because I thought it was so important. And third grade, and I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. But I was a curious child, My parents never stopped me from being curious, thank God. And I always had questions.
I think he loved that. I think he loved that element in you, and he's probably beaming down on you right now because he's remembered, and not only remembered, but that he made a difference. His footprint, his knowledge, his wisdom, and the wherewithal to see that a 9-year-old. Maybe you were the only one that was like perky and alert and going, ooh, this is, wow, but it just takes one, right?
Yeah. And what an understanding, right? Yeah. Because you think about it, the understanding of don't close your eyes. Don't believe everything that is said to you. You don't have to believe
This is not
everything.
your reality. Here's my phone. I'm holding it up to show Marilyn because she can see me. This is not reality. Facebook is not reality. Everybody on Facebook is telling you the absolute best case scenario of their lives. Everybody wants to be the Kardashians. I do not. I'm sorry. Please,
not me.
Please forgive me. A big percentage would like to be the Kardashians. That is not reality. None of this is reality. So I think it's really important that we be proactive about the quality and the richness of our lives and our neighbors, and where can we step up, like you said in the beginning of the show in that description I read, where can we step up and step out of our comfort and complacency and our cell phones and make a difference, not only for the people that we love dearly, but for ourselves.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it,
starts with us.
Yes, and sometimes people think, I have to march, I have to do this. No, you know what? You can start in your own home. You can start with your own family members. You can start, talking about the things that matter. Sometimes you just have to plant the seeds, water them, allow the sun to shine on them. Just continuously doing that until you wake and see the growth and the expansion. Sometimes you can look at it like, look, I don't know everything. I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. I just go like this and say, what do I believe right now in this situation? And why do I believe what I believe? Is it because of an experience that I have had? What is it that causes me to believe what I'm believing? Because these questions are really important questions to ask yourself in order so that you can make the right decisions.
That's right. The more you do, the more you trust that channel, that higher self.
Yes.
The more you know that that's your anchor, right? You can call it God,
and you know that
spirit,
it's
higher
sourcing,
self, whatever you want. Yeah.
Right. It's sourcing from your inner wisdom. And that's where you want the information from.
That's
you don't
right.
want the information from all these narratives
it's your compass.
that are
Exactly.
Yeah. And
they're all out there to keep you in that whirly bird of fear or confusion, or because
step out of fear.
You know what?
Yep.
I don't ever promote TV shows or anything like that. But I gotta say, I was in Nashville and they were watching Yellowstone. And I was like, I don't even get Yellowstone, so I'm not going to. It was the first episode. And my dad and my sister had already seen the whole thing, so they were watching it again.
It's
and I was like, really? Oh, my God. So I got it now. I got it. I can watch it. I am so hooked on that show. And the reason I'm so hooked on that show is because there's so much of what we are talking about today in this show, the integrity of some of these people and some of the disintegrity of some of the other people. But it is so powerful. If you want to watch something that'll motivate you about America and our land and where we really come from and what's going on with bells and whistles and greed, it's so good. It's so good.
What
so
about
I just
that
have
other
to
one?
say,
What about the
one
I
you're
told you?
watching, the prequel.
The one I finished. I know, but what's the
haven't-
name of it? I forgot.
18 something? I don't
1883.
1883.
Oh, my
I haven't gotten there
gosh.
because I'm still watching.
I didn't
Yes.
see Yellowstone, but 1883.
Yes.
Oh
well,
my
you'd
Lord.
love Yellowstone if you love 1883.
I
so we're gonna
loved it.
You and I are gonna flip flop. I'm gonna go that way, and you're gonna go. But the key things about that show are really what we're talking about. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you haven't watched it, it's really worth it. The dynamics of it.
Yeah, and it's stand up for what matters.
Yes.
And think about,
The
don't just think
richness and
about
the
yourself.
quality
Right.
of the
And then
truth.
Right. And don't just think about yourself. Think about your children, your children's children. You know, and if you don't have children, think about your siblings' children. Think about
Or
other
if you
people's
don't have children, think about
if you
your
don't
own ass needing to reincarnate and come back here to the planet we're destroying. How about that? You know,
about
I
that?
mean,
Yeah, how about
seriously.
that?
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm
So,
not done
yeah.
being human. I'm not that lucky. I just
You
know
know-
they're going to send me back here.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's so important just to be proactive but to be conscious.
Yeah.
Conscious in
Yes.
our proactive and the
Yes.
reason behind it, as well as our reactiveness, to be conscious and aware of it. Because we can do so much work. Work, and we can get rid of so much baggage.
Yeah. I always think they always show me this. Spirit always shows me the dirty brown window and, sienna brown. And I take my finger and I swirl away just a little bit so my eyeball can look in. And I think every goddamn time they show me that, I think, there's so much that I don't know and don't see. It's just incredible what starts being revealed when you purposely, intentionally.
Yes. And that's the key
want-
word. Those are
Yes.
the key words.
Yes.
Say it again, because it is true.
Purposely and intentionally. You know, that's
Yes.
a tongue tie for me if I had to say it
But
two
it's
times in a row.
it is so beautifully said, because if we can have those intentions and set that into motion, so much can change. So much can change. We can change so many things.
So much is already changing. I mean, there is a
Yeah.
great awakening, and I have more and more people going, I feel this, or I see that, or what does that mean? And I'm like, oh, yay.
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
This
I
is going to be a
love
bumpy
that.
ride. So, put your knee pads and your elbow pads on,
Put your
but it's going to be fun.
on.
Yeah.
You're going to be
And it's like-
propelled, but it's a
I
good
know.
propelling. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good propelling.
It feels
Yeah.
like Mad Max out there a lot of the time. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but the first time I ever saw that movie, I was like a teenager, and I was like, whoa, this is intense, And now when I leave my house, sometimes I go, whoa, this is intense. And I'm not even talking to anybody.
Right? But
Oh,
sometimes you
boy.
can feel the energy of the collective, right? And then what happens is
that,
that...
yes.
Yeah. And now I know that I
Yes,
have to be a
yes.
little bit more conscious and aware of the energy.
What you take on. Girl, I
Yeah.
grew a 54-pound tumor not being conscious because I just
Yeah.
took layer and layer and layer. And now I know. But I'm not recommending my way at all. Please know that. I half joke. But yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we are so tactile and we feel and sense things,
Yes.
No human, I remember this on Oprah, no human's going to get on a steel elevator with somebody they don't feel safe with. They're just not. You're not going to
Yeah.
get on an elevator with a tiger with his teeth exposed at you.
Yeah.
We
It's like I
have
feel-
instincts.
Yeah, it's like I told you earlier, right? I feel like what I do with this energy work, and what I sense and things like that. It's like a gift, but it feels sometimes like a curse, because there's so much that comes in that I have to really be mindful all the time, and I have to be really conscious and aware.
What am I letting seep through? What am I letting get me?
Yes, and it's so important. And I have to go, pay attention. What's happening right now? Is this yours? Oh, wait a minute. What's happening in the world that you're feeling this? And then I go and I find out, and then it's like, oh my God. Then I light my candles, and then I say prayers, and that's what I do.
Yes, and your Florida water. I need Florida water. Lots and lots of
Florida water, sage, sometimes I send like bombs of sage to places just to clear out the energy. Yes. It's like, just clear it there.
Yeah.
So this has been interesting, right? It's an interesting ride. It's been an interesting morning, and it's been an interesting experience overall.
So you know what? Be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Be kind with yourself. This is my own. I need to hear it too. Mm-hmm. But we really need to just go, like, I'm doing the best I can, but can I step up here maybe? Can I help
with
myself a little better here? Exactly. Not
love and
with
compassion.
a rawhide mallet.
Right. We're not going to beat ourselves there.
Yes, right.
We're going to guide ourselves with love and compassion.
We can't wait to talk to you next week on Shooting the Shift.
Blessings, love, and light.
Shake and shift up. Peace and blessings.